Hi Flosstube, I hope all's well. My name is Kirsty, Crafting Kirsty here on YouTube and also on Instagram. It is Sunday, November the 10th, 2024, so it's Remembrance Day here in England. And this is Flosstube number 30. I hope you've all, it's been 6 weeks since my last cross-stitching update, so I hope you've all had a good 6 weeks. I've had quite a busy one, full of lots of fun things. But the two biggest ones and most relevant to this are I went to Stitch in London. I went on the first weekend, organised by Marie of Stitches and Diamonds, so that's absolutely fantastic. Obviously I have haul from there, so I will talk about that later. And then last weekend I was in Wales with a group of ladies that we all shared a table at the Hats Sampler Weekend 23. And we decided to book an Airbnb and we went and spent the weekend in Wales, sort of fairly well equidistant between Create Nostalgia and the Nimble Thimble. So we went shopping on Saturday, so there is more haul. I've worked on quite a few projects. I've had a couple of new starts and I've had a trauma, but we're just going to breeze on through it because it's only cross stitch. So I will start with, well, I'll talk about my whips, and then as I said, I'll talk more about the weekend as and when I get to the haul section. So the first whip that I worked on, and it's the one that I had the trauma on, was, wait for it, the Huntsman. So this is the Huntsman by the Scarlet Letter. I have been working on, I'm sorry, it's Sunday evening, so completely different lighting to normal, so I hope this works out okay. So I've been working on this for quite a long time, thoroughly enjoy it. I always chat away about how it's a great project because you can just outline everything, then it's just block filling. And that's where I messed up. So I am using the called for DMC, lots of lovely colours. Doesn't do this justice. I'm quite a few colours short actually. It does not do it justice to the colours that are actually on my linen. So yes, as I said, it's a great chart. You outline lots of things and then you can just block, fill it in. So this is where I've got to. I've got a lot more of the horse done. I've filled in the dogs and I've done a whole load of greenery. Yeah, I've just sort of generally kept working. Can you see it from here? Can I see it from here? No, because that doesn't actually help at all. I've got my glasses on, hang on. So I'm just seeing if yeah, you can see it a little bit. So, Stitch in London, sitting next to Stitch UH, because I'm going to blame her. And I was filling in a block, chatting away, realised that I'd gone wrong. I hadn't put the top row in, so I'd gone past where I needed to go. So I thought, oh, I'll just unpick it, cut the fabric as I unpicked it. So there was quite a lot of swearing. There was nearly tears, nearly tears. But I have ended up, because it was quite a significant cut in the fabric as well. And so it's just here. It needs tidying up a little bit, but I've had to satin stitch in here where I cut the block. Can't see, I don't know if it's the light. Yeah, it just needs a little bit of trim up there. So, you know, from a distance, it will be fine, I'm sure. But yes, it was a little bit traumatic at the time, but you know, it's only cross stitch. So other than that, I'm really enjoying this piece. I've yet again run out of my blues and greens for the grass. Go through, and I think this is 27 count Linda, I think this is. It's either 25 count or 27 count. And I really enjoy stitching on it because obviously it's very easy at that count. But yeah, you do use a lot of thread. So there we go, that was the first whip that I worked on, and that was my trauma. But as I said, you know, there are more pressing things in life, and hopefully it won't be too visible. The next piece, and actually these were the only two pieces I worked on whilst I was at Stitch in London. The next piece I worked on was Away We Ride by Blackbird Designs. I started this last month, I think. There's a group of ladies who are doing a sal. I think they all got together at the Big Floss Retreat. It's not what it's called. Big Stitch Retreat. and they decided to start this. So I jumped on the bandwagon, and I have started it on a piece of fabric that I don't know what it is. But anyway, I've got a bit further, so I've filled in this, done a bit more of the border, and I've started going along. Sorry, this is a hanging thread there, it's not a piece. And I've just started going along the bottom bit as well. So that's fine. And again, I am using all the called for DMC on this. And there's some lovely colours in there. Can't wait to get to use those oranges and reds. Everyone always complains about the border, or not complains, but sort of says, oh, you know, it's a hell of a border. I don't actually mind it, to be quite honest with you. You can get in a bit of a rhythm with it. I mean, I haven't obviously done it all yet. I'll probably be sick and tired of it by the time I get to the end of it, but there we go. So that was the next piece I worked on. I then came home and just decided I wanted to pull something out, something completely different out that I haven't worked on for ages. So I pulled out Our Forest embroidery, black vintage sampler. So now I started this, I think, a couple of Christmases ago. Well, it's definitely a couple of Christmases ago. Can't remember if it was the back of November or the back end of December with Elaine, Ellie Stitcher. And randomly enough, in her last video, she had pulled it out as well and done a bit more work. So I think Elaine's doing it in a cottage garden threads, variegated sort of black, which is very, very nice. And I think she's doing it in with black November sampler sort of hashtag. I didn't particularly want to do a black sampler, so I am working mine on a 32 count latte. Now I think this tag is a Northumberland Sampler House tag, which if it is, this fabric is lovely, and I do intend on going and purchasing some more from her at some point. But anyway, I pulled out, excuse me, I was aiming slightly for more sort of sepia tones, missed it wildly, nowhere near that mark, but I ended up with, just got 4 browns out, 3 of which are there, so that's DMC 841, 3031, 3862, and then I have this rat's nest, which I think it's an anchor floss, and I think I use this because I've got a lot of this on some bobbins in a drawer. So I'm hoping and praying that's what it is, because I've lost the number for it and it's just going to be a nightmare to try and match it. But anyway, so I'm using those, and this is what I've got to do so far. So I filled in the house this time. So I think when I last showed this, which was a long time ago, I just started on the roof and I'd probably just got down to about here. And I was thinking, oh my God, that house is going to take some stitching. But actually I'm only using 1 thread over 2. As I said, this is on a 32 count latte. This is what I got because it's got the orange. It's really quite hefty. It's lovely, really soft, but with a bit of weight to it, which is why I want to get some more. And actually, you're never missing more than 1 or 2 stitches. And with 1 thread going behind it, you don't see it. So actually, you're just able to work your whole way along the line. Quite often, it's a pattern of, you know, cross stitch 3, miss 1, cross stitch 3. So it was actually quite an enjoyable stitch to do. It did take me 3 or 4 evenings of stitching. But yeah, and I'm basically just putting, have I actually fully finished that? I think I have. Yes, I have. I am just sort of winging it with the colours really, trying to mix them up and just put them as and where I'd like to. Yeah, so I'm saying you can't see the threads behind. I don't think you can if I hold it up. Oh, you're fine. So yeah, so that is a lovely piece of fabric. So if you haven't bought from Northumberland Sampler House her fabric before, I would highly recommend it. It is lovely. The next project I pulled out, and I'm going to show the project bag first, because actually I did a quilt tube video about 4 weeks ago now, and I had a block that I no longer wanted to use for what I was going to use it for, so I was going to repurpose it into a bag. At the same time, I picked up another block that I had and I made another bag. So this is the first, so this is not my repurposed block, if that makes sense. This is a Dresden plate that I did in a quilting lesson. We had a lady come in and talk to us and show us how to make a Dresden plate. I only made one, and I've turned it into this bag. I've just put the same fabric on the back in stripes. Zip top, I follow the tutorial by Celeste Creates. I really like her tutorial for zip top bags. I prefer zip top bags to the bags where you have the like header and then the zip here, because I always find you just catch the charts or you catch things on the edges, whereas the zip tops, I don't find that happens so much. So yeah, it's just a really simple, what did I use? And then that's just the lining fabric. And I didn't put any sort of batting or wadding or iron-on interfacing onto this at all. So yeah, so anyway, that's my first new project bag, which is housing, did I even tell you what was in there? It's housing Maria Juanaria, 1833 to 34. Now this is a project I started, I think 2 if not 3 years ago, for my birthday. And I think, well, I know Stitchy Rach also started it. Elaine Elliwelly Stitcher has also started it. And then Janet Dodd joined us on the sale, but she started the plantation sampler instead. Anyway, I am using all the called for DMCs. Lovely sort of quite pastel-y colours in here. I am a DMC girl. Here's the actual chart itself. Queenstown Sampler Designs, Maria Juanaria, 1833 to 34. And it's just, let's put a glare on that, a whole load of motifs and quite a, it's not an intricate border, but there's a lot in the border. Anyway, this time I did some more of the letters, and those are eyelets. Quite enjoy doing the eyelets, but after a while I get a little bit bored of it. Filled in some of these buds on the flowers and filled in some of the buds down here on the flowers, and then dropped down and actually started doing a couple of the motifs. So I've done a dog, a deer, and that lovely flower basket. And they are really lovely colours actually. I do like this. So this is 36 count. So I got just, it'll either be antique white or off-white or ivory, or I can't remember what it is. It's just plain white. 36 count. Got quite a long way to go. So yes, so there we go. But there we go. One stitch at a time, as Narissa says, of stitching. Narissa's stitching lifestyle. So yeah, so I really enjoyed pulling that out and working on that. And then, because obviously I haven't got enough big samplers that I'm working on, I pulled out another one that I'd started a couple of years ago. I didn't do much last year on any of these projects because I was really focusing on my Morris dancer, which I completed. So a lot of these I haven't actually worked on for a year. Anyway, so I pulled out Dutch Beauty. Again, called for, and there's a red in there somewhere, pinky red. Called for DMC. Again, lovely colours. Here's the chart. I think everyone knows this chart. It's a great chart. And it is actually a very interesting chart because on the inner pages, it talks about all the symbolism of the various motifs and, you know, what they mean. So it's quite interesting to read that. And this time, normally, because I've done the border on this, normally I would start in the top right-hand corner. This is actually my second start of this, or it was the second time I'd started this piece, because the first time I didn't like the colour of the fabric that I was using. I'd over-dyed it, didn't like it. Ended up passing it on to a friend who said that she would stitch it. So then I decided to go for a 40 count, again, white, Zweigart, again, it'll be off-white, antique, ivory, whatever it is. So I thought this time, because I'd already done the top right hand on the first piece before I gave it away, I thought I'm going to start down in the bottom left-hand corner, just for a change. So I went down and I did this peacock and this lion. And I really enjoyed stitching it, and that took me, you know, a couple of evenings of stitching to get this done, and that was great. It was all good, feeling quite accomplished. And then I stepped back and went, oh, little ways to go yet then. It's just like, oh my God. Can't believe I'm ever going to fill this up, but apparently I will. So yes, so those are my two paltry little efforts towards working on this sampler. Or the peacock, sorry. But yeah, so again, another enjoyed stitching on that. When I first started on 36 and the 40 count, I did struggle a bit with it. Whereas I find, particularly if I'm wearing glasses, because I wear contact lenses, I really struggle to see it with contact lenses in now. If I'm wearing my glasses and then I put a second pair of glasses over the side, over the top, that's absolutely fine. I can see it well enough. And again, once you've got back into it, it's okay. But yeah, that's just going to be on the go for a little while. Then I pulled out or got back in. So this is on a frame and I have this sitting in the dining room. So I've got the light from the window because the frame, I don't want the frame in the lounge. And it's Elizabeth Bevan, 1835. So this is a Hands Across the Sea. Really love this chart. When did I start this? Maybe I started it last year for my birthday because I knew I wanted to be working on a hat sampler when I went to the Great British Sampler Weekend in October of last year. So I must have started it before that. I should imagine I started it in July. So again, I'm using all called for DMC. Lots of pretty colours in this one. And as I said, this is on a frame, although part of it has come undone. Ooh, sorry, so let me just angle this around. So here we go. So this time I've finished the pot, filled the pot in, and I've brought that bird down. So what I'm doing with this is, because it's constantly, so I'm trying to get the light on it, because it's constantly on the frame and just in the dining room, I am just trying to put probably 1 or 2 threads a day in. I mean, I say I'm trying. I started this again 10 days ago and I think I've managed it 2 or 3 days. I've actually managed to sit down and do it, but we will get there. Keep going. So yeah, and it is amazing actually how much you can get done with just 2 or 3, or 1 or 2 threads a time as you sit at it. Is that the right side that I've been working on? Yeah, this side. Oh, actually that's probably a bit of a better light. Anyway, this is on, I think it's either, I can't remember, it's either 32 count or 36 count lambswool permanent. And the reason I've put it on this frame is because it's such a big piece and it's actually a really quite stiff piece of fabric. I was really struggling to fold it all or roll it all, hold it and stitch in hand, because I do normally stitch in hand. But this is actually on the frame and I quite enjoy having it on the frame, and just, it does make you slow down. I think it slows me down, but not in a bad way. And it's quite nice. Just normally after lunch, I just make a cup of tea, and I'm trying to get into the habit of, making a cup of tea and just sitting down and putting 1 or 2 threads in. Yeah, so that is, sorry, nearly took you out there. Elizabeth Bevan, 1835 from Hands Across the Sea. So those are all the old whips that I've worked on. And then I've had a couple of new starts, and I'm going to blame these on my friend Chris. So I'm going to start with Project Bag, because this is the block that I was going to use for a table cover. And then I decided I wasn't going to, but I made enough that I could make 6, and I thought that would be big enough for a nice decent sized project bag. So that is what I've done. Turn them into a project bag. I then found a couple of bits of fabric I didn't particularly like, put those onto the back. Again, this is the tutorial from Celeste Creates. Put this fabric inside, zip top. Now the only thing I would say about this one, I don't know why I don't have the issue on the other one, is occasionally the fabric gets caught in the zip on this one, and I haven't top stitched it. So once you put the zip in, you then can iron it down quite flat and go back and actually go along the top, and that just keeps that fabric down and away from the zip. I don't think Celeste has that in her tutorial. I was doing this at a quilt day, one of my groups, so I was watching her tutorial sort of on mute and just fast forwarding to the bits that I couldn't quite remember. And I don't think she does top stitch. I will in future, just because it's getting quite annoying that I keep on catching. And it's probably only because I haven't ironed it stiffly enough. But anyway, yeah, so I'm quite pleased with that little bag. Scrappy pinwheels and outer borders. In this bag, I have two projects because they're both being done on the same piece of fabric. And the first one, as I said, my friend Chris messaged me and said, oh, I'm going to start Jenny Bean's Christmas sampler, which is the gingerbread one. It's by Shakespeare's Peddler. So, oh, I've got that. I love that. I want a new start. I'll start it with you. Went and grabbed it, pulled the flosses for it. I'm just using the DMC. Pull the flosses for it. Oh, I don't like these colours at all. So then I started looking at my other charts, and I pulled another one out and thought I'll start this one instead. And then by the time I got back to the messages, Chris was like, yeah, that's great, and we can show each other our progress when we meet up at the weekend. So, oh God, I've got to start it now. So I went back and I re-chose. I've just changed basically 90% of the colours I have changed. Anyway, sorry. This is the sampler. So it's Jenny Bean's Christmas Sampler by Shakespeare's Peddler. And it says on it, had I but one penny, thou shouldst have it to buy gingerbread, wrought gladly by Jenny Bean. And then there's also an alphabet all over it. So I am taking out the alphabet. I'll put another, which side do I need? I'll put another sort of tree here and, you know, just fill it up with a few more trees. And I'm also not doing anything below this diamond border. I'm not going to, well, I can show you my threads here actually. So I've just got a bit of a mishmash. I just chose reds and greens and gold that I liked Christmas wise. And it's still very much playing it by ear. And so far, I have got two. Sorry, as I said, this is on. So this is on a vintage country mocha, and I think it's possibly a 32 count. I can't remember, and have I lost the piece of paper with it in? No, I haven't. It's here. Keep calm, all will be revealed. 32 count vintage country mocha I got, and that is fabric that I bought from the shop in Great Yarmouth. I can't remember the name of it now. I went there, it's the first cross stitch shop I'd ever been to. I will put the name in below because she does have lovely fabric. She has lots of different threads. Lovely lady. And yeah, obviously it's good to support the smaller stores. Anyway, so this is what I have so far. So I started at the bottom with the diamonds. So this light isn't great. I've done a bit of the ivy. So yeah, so that's as far as I've got, because I also, having decided I didn't want to do the Jenny Beans before then deciding that I was going to do the Jenny Beans, I pulled out Pinebury Lane, Bringing Home the Trees. Sorry for the black and white printout. And this I am using the DMC flosses for. Don't know where they've gone, but I am using DMC call for DMC flosses, and I haven't got very far with this one either. Let me find it for you. Only got as far as that. A Merry Christmas with the white, and I've just started to go down, and there's a sort of snowflake here that I'm about to, can you see it from there? No, not really. Snowflake here that I'm about to start. And then I get into all the trees. I do quite like trees. I like trees that are symmetrical and have got, you can get into a pattern of doing it. So yeah, so those were my 2 new starts. I would hope to get both of these finished by the end of the year, and my fancy blacket piece that I haven't touched at all this month. So I'd like to get all 3 of those smalls finished by the end of this year, because I have a lot of big starts planned next year. But I'll talk about that at another time. So that's everything I've worked on. I've just done a bit of everything. I've basically pulled out a chart. All right, I want to get that stitched, I want to get that stitched, and I've quite enjoyed doing that. So I think I'm going to carry on with that for the moment. I'm going to keep on nibbling away at the Huntsman. Again, I'd like to get that finished by the end of this year as well, bearing in mind it is already the 10th of November. But you know, hopefully I will. Right, so we're now on to haul. There is quite a lot of it, so brace yourself. I will start, I'll put it upside down actually. Here we go. So I will start with my Stitch in London haul. I'm not going to show all the table gifts that we very kindly were given, basically because I'm using most of them, so they're now spread out around everywhere. We had a great table. I went with, well, basically, obviously I intend to meet up with Stitch UH, my friend Chris, who is Body Stitcher on Instagram, Jane Crumpler, who had sat on the table with the year before, Edna, who had also sat on the table with us the year before. We all sort of got together and said, right, we're going to sit together again. And then we were joined by Danny and by Anne-Marie. And so we had a great table. Yeah, it was just good. Lots of talk, lots of laughter, and all was good fun. I did do, as I said, I did do table gifts. I didn't partake in the smalls exchange, and there were various charts, I think the majority of which had been done by Yasmin, Yasmin's Made with Love. I think that's what it is. And so you could purchase those as retreat kits if you wanted to, but it was optional, so I decided not to. As usual, they had some good vendors there, so obviously we went and had a good look at those. And I bought 3 pieces of fabric. The first one, I can't remember the name. I'm sure it's something to do with the Cross Stitch Guild, I think. Anyway, there was a lady there selling some fabric, and I bought Graziano Grigio 38 count. So it's this sort of grey, beigey grey. And there's quite a large piece of it, 20 by 35. So yeah, it's quite a big piece. Obviously, my eyesight was better the day that I bought this. Because, oh, I can see it with my glasses on. So that's fine. So that would be a nice big piece for a sampler, one of my new starts for next year. I also bought, I'm not going to take it out of the packet, this, again, another sort of good sampler, neutral colour. And this is a 36 count linen from Megan of Coffee Craft Fabric. So I do love her linens and fabrics. So I just picked up a piece from her as well. Again, that'll be a good piece for a sampler. And then the weekend that we were there, so there were 2 Stitch in London weekends this year. I was at the first weekend, and Marie of Stitches and Diamonds, who runs the Stitch in London retreat, has now also, I think with her husband, gone into fabric dyeing, and they've started up a company called Swan Bay Fabrics. And she had a whole load of her fabrics there on that first weekend, and I think obviously she also had them on the second weekend, so we could go and look at her fabrics and choose them. And so I ended up purchasing a 32 count, and I think this is oak, I think. But this is what I've got. So again, it's just a lovely beigey, I'd say it's quite a warm beige, very, very light mottling, which I really, really like. I like a little bit of mottling, but not too much. And yeah, it's lovely, lovely fabric. And again, it will be great next year for one of my new starts. And I think they are now fully launched online, I think. So You can see it just there. So it's only a very small label, Swan Bay Fabrics. But yeah, lovely, lovely linen. So looking forward to using that. There's always a very nice raffle at Stitch in London. Marie has quite a good system, so she pre-sorts the prizes that you win, and it's normally a bundle. So there's normally, say there's like 10 bundles, and she has a cup next to each bundle. You get 6 or however many raffle tickets in your kit when you arrive on the table, and so you've got both sides of the raffle tickets. You have both sides. You put one in the pot next to the prize that you'd like to win, and you keep the other one. So that way, if your number is called, it's called for a prize that you would actually like to take. So I put mine in, there's a selection of Hands Across the Seas charts, which I was luckily won, which was very kind, all very nice. I gave a couple of them away at the table because I've got enough charts to, quite frankly, last me a lifetime. But I did keep this one because this was the one that I really wanted. So this is Hannah Green 1826, the 2024 Queen of the May Hands Across the Sea samplers. And I basically, sorry, it's still in the paper. I basically bought it for all the animals in the bottom because I do like that. But I mean, I like the whole chart, but that's what really drew me to it. So yeah, so I was delighted to have won that. I don't know when I will start it, but no doubt I will. And then I bought some other charts, and again, I don't know the name of Marie's shop. I don't know if her chart shop is the same as her fabric shop, but Marie also does charts. I'd imagine it would be. If I can find out, I'll put it below. Or if anybody knows, just put it in the comments, please. So I bought from her Live on Little from Plum Street Samplers because, you know, I need another massive chart in my life. I do like that one though. And it says, how great the blessing and vast the art to live on little with a thankful heart. I'll need to change the flag, but other than that, it's all good. And I had a Teresa Kogut moment. I think these are the first charts that I've bought, the Teresa Kogut. I always love her stuff, but I've just never got around to buying any of it. And so the first one is Nature. And I just love all the colours in that. And that one says, nature fortifies the soul and brings peace to the heart from which love flows like a river. Might not put that in. We'll see. But yeah, I do like all the pretty colours, all the pretty animals and all the pretty flowers. And then I bought her Hello Autumn book, which includes 8 cross-stitch designs. So this is the front cover because I think she's come out with quite a few books recently, or over the past, couple of years. So this is the Hello Autumn, and let me see, because I obviously didn't put a post-it note in. Which one do I like? So you've got the front cover. You have Harvest, he's quite cool. Ah, Folksy Thomas. I think he's going to have to be the first one that gets started. Just love that one. I think that's probably the one that I actually bought the book for. To be perfectly honest with you. Let me know. Oh, we've got Harvest Ted and Harvest Tina. They're quite cool. Their pants and skirts going to take a bit of stitching though. And then an autumn banner, Sunflower Sam. He's quite cool. Oh, and then Autumnal Bliss. Like that one as well. So I think other than the banner, which is just a very plain autumn banner, I think fairly well. There were definitely 7 out of the 8 that I would really want to stitch out of this book. So I think that's very good value for the price that it was. So that's all the haul from Stitch in London. Have I got much else to tell you about that? No, I don't think so. Mrs. Flossie Sews and Grows, Sally was there, so it was lovely to see her. Although she went down with a cold towards the end, so I tended to sort of see her from a distance. Crafty Whitney was back. It was lovely to catch up with her. This Mrs. Fisher Stitches, Lizzie was there. There are lots of people there. I'm not going to start naming everyone because I'll miss out a few people, and I don't mean to in the least. But yeah, it's just lovely to see everyone. It's a great event, really, really well organised. The hotel's great. Yeah, it's just all good. It was all good fun, and I'm looking forward to next year, hopefully, as long as I get on. She'll just have to do 3 weekends if I don't get on. I think she might collapse at that point, bless her. Anyway, so the next lot of haul is from this last weekend where I went to, as I said, we booked an Airbnb in Wales. I'm not even trying to say the name, but it was a lovely town. And I didn't actually book it for the town. I booked it, as I said, for its proximity to Create Nostalgia and the Nimble Thimble. But actually the town itself was lovely. Well, I'm going to say Llangollen. It's 2 L's, Angollan. Yeah, it's a really, really pretty town with a fantastic second-hand bookstore in it. So on the Sunday morning, we sort of wandered into town and had a look. But on the Saturday, we went first of all to the Nimble Thimble, which was lovely. Obviously, I've never been there before. And yeah, we all sort of arrived en masse. Stitchy Rach came and met us there. So she wasn't part of the weekend because she hadn't gone to the Great British Sampler weekend. However, she was nearby on holiday. She'd just finished her half-term holiday with the children and her husband, and he dropped her off at the shop. So she caught up with us there, which was lovely because she knows quite a few people that were there anyway. So it's good to catch up with her. Basically, we went in the morning. We were provided with tea, coffee and biscuits. And yeah, we had a long time looking around, picking all the charts out, putting them all back, had a coffee, picked them all back out, put them all back, and then eventually settled on what we were going to buy. So I bought the Velvet Carrot Needle Book from Stacey Nash Designs. I think that's very cool. Whether I manage to finish it to look like a carrot will be another matter. But yeah, so I like that. This was the bargain of the year. I picked this up and didn't realise that it was in the sale bin. So this was actually only £1. It's from Heartstring Samplery, the Mary Pearson Sampler. And this is from the collection of the Sandy Historical Society Museum. And so I'm trying to get the glare off it. As you can imagine, I bought it for the pictorial scene at the bottom because we've got a couple of sheep, shepherd, I think shepherdess that's asleep on the job, quite bright pink house. But yeah, so for £1, I thought I can't turn that down, even if I only end up doing from here downwards. So that's great. And I picked up Prairie Schooler Prairie Year Rounds. And at the same time, I picked up some black fabric, I don't know what this is, to do them on. We just had the usual, you know, walking around, holding it in various lights. Can I see it? Can't I see it? And yes, I could at the time, so I'm sure I'll be able to when I actually get around to doing it. I don't know that I'll get all of them on this one piece. I don't know that I'll stitch all of them. But yeah, we'll see. So I thought, well, it's easy enough. Whilst I've got the black fabric and I can see whether I can see it or not, I'll pick it up. And then I picked up the floral etchings, and the floral etchings too. Always like these, I've always liked these, and it's Elaine is stitching one of them, and I think Sally of Miss Flossie Sews and Grows has stitched one or two of them. Not sure if Rachel's stitching one. I could be making that up, but as I said, I've got 1 and 2. Really like them. I might slightly darken the colours, but I do just love the general look of them. So we've got those two together. And they are from Heart in Hand Needle Art. So that's great. We then made our way across country to create Nostalgia, which is in the middle of nowhere. Quite literally in the middle of nowhere. But it's a great little shop. And the main thing I picked up from there actually was a sort of wool embroidery kit, which for some reason I haven't brought to show you. But I also picked up Bent Creek Waiting for Santa. And Bent Creek Merry Christmas. So only 2 small charts, but as I said, a wool embroidery kit from there. And it was lovely there. She had a very cool dog. I did try to steal the dog, but she wouldn't let me take it. And we were very kindly provided with tea and scones and cream and jam there. So that was all very nice. So we had fully shopped. We were completely shopped out by the end of the day. But it was really, really good. It was lovely to go to the 2 shops. It was lovely to see the fabric in person. And yeah, it was just great. Very friendly, very welcoming shops, both of them. Because there were sort of 6 or 7 of us turning up at each shop at the same time, we did phone to say that we were coming and doubly check they were going to be open, and was it all right that we all piled in together. And yeah, that was absolutely fine from both of them. So that's it really for this Flosstube. We've just had a busy weekend. All 3 children came home and, well, not randomly, I knew they were going to do it, but they decided they wanted to try Thanksgiving dinner, because obviously we're not American or Canadian, so we never have done it, but we hear about it all the time, TV shows, blah, blah, blah. And so my eldest daughter did a lot of research onto it, and she did the food order, and then all 3 of them cooked it. I didn't do anything. I laid the table and that was it. So that was actually really, really nice. It's good fun, interesting food to try. There was a lot of starch and a lot of carbs. But yeah, it was really interesting to try it actually. And I think, well, I don't know whether it will become a yearly thing now or not, but certainly having all of them cook lunch is going to have to become a yearly thing. That was very nice indeed. Coming up stitching wise, I don't think I've got anything, surprise, surprise. It could be this Friday. This coming Friday, I think I'm going to Stitchery with Sian Periwinkle Stitcher. She messaged to say that she was doing, I think it's cartonnage course that's being put on at the Stitchery. I don't know how you say it, I'm sorry. Basically, covering a box with fabric. And she thought it was quite near me, and would I like to go? So I looked it up, and it is only an hour down the road. I had no idea that she was so close. And she's actually very close to Poppy Patch, which is a good quilt store. One of our nearest sort of nice quilt stores. So I said that yes, I would go. So that's coming up at the end of this week. That'll be interesting to see what that's like. And I think that is it. It's just the countdown to Christmas now. Anyway, if you've made it this far, thank you very much indeed. As I said, I hope you've had a good 6 weeks. I will be back in 6 weeks' time, which I think could take me up to the 23rd of December. So that'll soon be here quick. Okay, I'm waffling now. I will see you later. Take care. Bye.